Out of 10 tax havens in the world, 6 of them are British. Over 900,000 houses are second homes. That's the size of several cities. What are you guys going to do? Because the majority of parliamentarians are trained in law and making policy. Where is the law? Where is the policy? Where have your heads been while this has been going on?
I don't remember where I was, but I don't understand what you want us to do. To ban second homes? To ban...
I've asked you what you would do to deal with...
You said where were you? That's just
where were you when all of the... Look, we've just lost 695 billion when we left Europe and we replaced it with nothing, virtually. The money has gone somewhere. Yeah. I can't go into a shop and not pay for groceries. How come billionaires can offshore their money? I've always paid my full tax. You need to do something as parliamentarians to make sure the law works. Does that make it clear?
Well, the first thing I do is take you and get you to tell me what to do and suggest it. Because frankly, as a newcomer, I don't really know what you want to achieve 100%. I don't know how much stress you want to put on those rich people or whatever, or people who own double homes or something like that. But, I'm open to suggestions.
So I think it goes without saying that people need to pay their tax, and people who try to evade, not avoid, but evade tax need to be come down on the bricks. So I know that's something the government have worked on extensively in the last years to make sure that that is done. But I just want to, again, unpopular comment come in, get away from just bashing people who are wealthy or rich. Yes, they need to pay tax. The reason why tax is a percentage base is the more you make, the more you pay. And then to bash people who have a second home, those second home owners are people who are landlords who provide much needed homes for other people as well. So it's easy just to say, oh, they're doing well, they're evil. I think it's unhelpful and it's not going to get us any further forward. Okay.
So yeah, we need to tax those with the broadest shoulders. We absolutely need to. I don't know why we haven't been doing that. We just keep banging on with the same thing. I think Einstein said we keep doing the same thing and getting the same results. It's insane. It's poor decision making. That's a more politically correct way of putting it. So yeah, second homes. 1 in 24 homes in Cambridge is a second home. Well, it's an empty home. It's been empty for over 6 months. So we need to be giving councils the power to deal with this and put some legislation that allows them so that those funds can be released back and families can move in. We need to poverty is a political choice. It is, and people have been choosing poverty, and then they've been punishing those who are in poverty. Okay, and I think we're all wising up to that now. We're getting quite angry about the tax havens, about all these billions of pounds. It's a total scandal. I'm angry with you, and thank you for getting emotional about that. Okay.
Thank you absolutely for your questions, and actually worked really, really hard to be able to buy a first home in Cambridge. The idea that anyone will be able to own 2 is just absolutely baffling to me. But in terms of second homes, one of our MPs has been trying to bring forward this legislation actually, which is Tim Farron, whose seat is West Midlands up in the Lake District, where the number of second home owners, as you can imagine, is absolutely huge. He brought a bill forward to Parliament to restrict ownership of second homes, which unfortunately was defeated because the Conservatives voted against it, which was really quite a shame. The other part of this, I agree with many things that Sarah said. The other part here is capital gains tax, which has a huge number of loopholes which can be exploited by people who have additional properties or highly expensive items to sell. So we'd also work to reform that to close some of the loopholes that are created there for the super wealthy. I think it's also, as I mentioned before, about putting the taxes in the right place and making sure some of those big fossil fuel companies, for instance, the social media companies who are actually doing harm, are being taxed properly because they can afford it, but they should be putting that money back into our economy, supporting the things which they're doing the damage to.
Okay.
So yeah, we have a situation at the moment where people who are ill and on benefits are being scrutinised so closely because there's apparently some fear that they might be swinging the system, and yet you've got non-doms, you've got rich completely getting away with it, and I think that's appalling. And we've got a Prime Minister, of course, whose wife had non-dom status. So we've got a real problem here. Labour's going to abolish on-dog status once and for all. We're also going to abolish the use of offshore trusts to avoid inheritance tax, which happens. We need to do better, and we have to make sure that the burden doesn't fall on the poorest in our society. It falls where it ought to, on the richest.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very good question. Now, you are struggling, I'm struggling. Everyone's struggling here. But let's punish the rich people. Now, we are doing a very big mistake here. Let's just be logic. Now, I said earlier, 8,000 millionaires had to run away from the country. Going where? To New Zealand, to Dubai, to Qatar. They're enjoying the life there with less tax, better life, security, which we are failing to have here. Even our MB here, he didn't come because of security issues. So now, what we need to do, we need to create a new system. We need to bring the 60 billion NATO goods and feed our people, help our economy, help our people here in the city. They are struggling. Why we have to pay 6 billion for extra war? Why we have to help Israel to fight and kill more children? This is not acceptable. This is our money. So our people need to to feed the poor people. All of us struggling, but don't let more people run away because of the horrible system we created. Thank you.
You said there, the reason that Daniel Seidler is not here tonight is not because this event has had to have security. I think that's important to say. Okay. I think you've got a question you want to comment.
So all you people are hoping to represent us on Cambridge as an MP or councillor. As somebody who lives in Cambridge, what are you going to do about them closing the Beehive Centre down and the Grafton Centre down and turning them into labs?
So to be honest, I don't know enough about those individual cases to comment with any authority, but as far as I understand it, we do have a lack of lab space in the city, and that's obviously a growing industry for Cambridge that we need to support. But that doesn't mean it needs to be at the expense of perfectly good businesses, community hubs that we obviously need as well. So I mean, the best person to answer, obviously, there's a council here who's presumably been part of the decision making, so I'll defer to her.
Definitely. Okay.
Fantastic question. What's happening to Cambridge is representing people who are doing quite well socioeconomically again and not taking care of those people who need social housing and social rents. In terms of the Beehive, I have been attending meetings with Railpen, with our green councillors who are in Abbey, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Tom and Councillor Howard. So we've been going along and we've been trying to push for the affordable shops to be kept. So that's been our absolute goal. And we've also been campaigning to make them accessible because it's a really great area for disabled users of the Beehive. You can get around quite well with a wheelchair. And Asda's got really nice wide aisles as well and accessible when you go and I can't remember the name for when you go to the cash desk and put your anyway. So it's very open and accessible, and we'd like to keep that. And so we've been really fighting hard to keep Asda. Personally, I shop at Asda. I'd like to see it there as well. So that's just a personal thing. But yeah, really good question. Thank you.
Looking at the Grafton Centre, so the three councillors in Market Ward, we're looking at this quite extensively, and for me the issue is always how we make sure that money from that, because those labs will bring people to Cambridge to serve those jobs, to make sure that Cambridge remains a world-leading city, with things like the COVID vaccine, which is really quite important. But we need to make sure that works for us, and so we need to make sure the money being generated by that goes right back into our local shops. So our Market Ward councillors brought a big petition forward to the planning committee when this development went through at the Grafton Centre, which made sure that the local shops, Greggs for instance, would be maintained there to make sure that they're protected because they're such an important service. Same with cash machines as well, which are not quite the same, but it's an important asset for those of us who do still use cash, which is important.
That's tosh. You actually
Please don't interrupt. Let the candidates speak for themselves.
But I answer the question.
It's also,
you will get your chance to answer that question in a moment or two. So please carry on.
So it's about making sure that we invest in the local economy. I think this is the other reason why I want to make sure that the growth and the change in Cambridge are being done with us. So it's why my goes plans, for instance, to completely overhaul what Cambridge might look like are simply unacceptable, because how we make sure that it is local communities, smaller businesses is important. The Cambridge markets as well, as well as the Dennis being huge champions of through the COVID closures, which is important too.
Thankfully, as a former teacher, I'm glad to see that Go has gone. I think one of the things we've got to be really focused on is having really good quality local plans that actually do this in a strategic way. Planning can't just be one thing after another popping up. You need a decent local plan that really thinks about what we need. For me as a local councillor, I think one of the frustrations can be that planning law tends to be very much in favour of a developer and a small person that struggles to challenge that planning law sometimes, and I think that's a huge frustration as a councillor. It is worth pointing out that planning is what's called quasi-judicial, so you can't make political decisions in a planning committee. You have to obey the planning laws that are there. So councillors are constrained by the laws that exist. So we need to look, hopefully once we have a change of government, about how we can make planning law fair for everyone.
This is a newspaper talking about a businessman who lost his business back in reference. So not just the community struggling, not just he's going to be homeless. He wrote his story, 2 pages here, about how he's going to be homeless after owning 3 restaurants. Now, if I'm you leave me, I'm going to review each horrible plan done by the previous government, because I do believe they're selling just the lands, they are going to selling the shopping markets, they are selling even the church. I have the church being sold. I don't know if this is true or not, but we're getting bigger community, more people, and we are selling everything. This is not right. What about our people? Where they are going to do shopping? Where they are going? Our business people. I'm fighting for them as well. So this is not right. So I'm standing for you. We have to review each plan, each decision that happened in the last 2-3 years before we start to destroy the city and sell it to someone else. Thank you.
Okay. You've heard the answers of the Labour and Lib Dem candidates, yeah? Basically, everything about strategy and planning and why we must do this and that. But basically, it's all hot air, right? They went against the will of the people who live there. They're destroying the shopping facilities of Cambridge people who don't have thousands of cars. Yeah? And at the same time, stopping people from having cars. Yeah? You wonder what this is leading to, right? So it's on both sides, squeezing the people, and then claiming like we have a strategy and we have to follow planning and we have to do this and that. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, what I call hot air.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's 8:30 and we're going to have to bring the whole event to a close.